You know, it's funny how life throws curveballs when you least expect it. One moment, you're walking the polish halls of a company you never imagined running, and the next, everything you thought you knew is flipped upside down. That was Valentina Blackwell's world, exactly CEO of a cutting-edge medical tech firm. Harvard MBA, Wall Street dreams behind her, now stuck in the sterile corridors of Boston Memorial Hospital, helplessly watching her 8-year-old daughter, Sophia, trapped in a wheelchair that keeps getting caught on the uneven pavement. The spinal injury is too severe, the doctor whispered that morning, and just like that, the fight turned personal. Then, just as the rain started to fall, this guy showed up tall, simple, a bit rough around the edges with his worn jacket, and a little girl holding his hand tightly. "Let me help her," he said, steady and calm. Valentina had no clue that meeting Griffin Hayes would change everything. Griffin's story wasn't the one you'd expect for a man who could be a star in neurosurgery. At 39, his salt and pepper hair told of years in the trench's long, grueling shifts, sleepless nights caring for his dying wife, and then raising their daughter Lily alone after Emily's death. He was once Dr. Lawrence Blackwell's prized protege, the youngest attending neurosurgeon at Mass General, known for surgical precision and healing touch. But tragedy had knocked him out of Boston's elite medical circles. He'd retreated to a small rehabilitation clinic in Portland, working quietly, far from the spotlight, a place where grateful smiles mattered more than accolades. Lily, his 6-year-old, was already showing signs of that medical intuition, treating her stuffed animals like real patients, and when Griffin read about Sophia's spinal injury and her connection to his old mentor, something clicked. Lawrence had left him notebooks filled with unfinished research on neural regeneration, a possible lifeline for Sophia. So, when Griffin first stepped into Sophia's hospital room, Valentina nearly called security. This scruffy man didn't fit with the polished specialist she'd flown in from Switzerland and Japan. But then Griffin calmly introduced himself as her father's student and research partner. There was a sincerity in his voice that made her hesitate. Could this guy really be the key to her daughter's recovery? He explained how he believed Lawrence's final work could help Sophia, but Valentina, hardened by board meetings and fierce negotiations, was skeptical. "What makes you think you can succeed where top clinics have failed?" she challenged, protective of her daughter and wary of this stranger's sudden appearance. Before Griffin could answer, Lily stepped forward, clutching her teddy bear and a toy stethoscope, and with the innocent boldness only kids have, approached Sophia. Lily, can I check your bear? He looks like he needs a doctor." Sophia, who barely spoke to therapists, looked at Lily surprised and, for the first time in days, offered a small nod and her stuffed rabbit. "His name's Hopper," she whispered. That moment was small, but huge. Valentina caught her breath, watching her daughter's walls crack open. Over the next weeks, Griffin and Lily became the unexpected team breathing life back into Sophia's therapy. Griffin combined cutting-edge neurostimulation with warmth, treating Sophia as a whole person, not just a case. Meanwhile, Lily's imaginative Dr. Games had Sophia engaging muscles through play, turning therapy into an adventure rather than a chore. Valentina, once watchful and guarded, found herself quietly retreating to the corner, amazed as Sophia laughed and looked forward to sessions. It was like watching magic unfold. The little girl who'd withdrawn into silence was now alive again, buoyed by a man in a worn jacket and his spirited daughter. Then came the breakthrough, a day Valentina would never forget. During an exercise, Sophia gasped, eyes wide. I felt that my toe moved. That tiny twitch, the first voluntary movement since the accident, sparked tears and hope. Griffin, ever composed, just smiled softly. This is just the beginning. But life loves a twist. The next day, Valentina's research director, Reed Hamilton, brought dark news. Griffin had a past. 3 years earlier, he was embroiled in a malpractice suit over an experimental treatment that resulted in a patient's death. The patient? His wife, Emily. The case was settled quietly, but the stigma lingered, and Griffin vanished from Boston's medical elite. That revelation hit Valentina like a punch. Was Griffin a dedicated healer or a desperate man chasing redemption? The trust they'd built felt fractured. That night, after Sophia was asleep, Valentina confronted Griffin at home, laying out the file between them. Griffin didn't flinch. Emily was dying, he said quietly. Stage 4 glioblastoma. Conventional treatments failed. She volunteered for an experimental protocol based on your father's research. We knew the risks, but her family needed someone to blame when she died. Your father stood by me, testified for the treatment's soundness. The case was dismissed, but my reputation was destroyed. The pain in Griffin's voice was real, and while Valentina understood, doubts lingered. She decided to send Sophia to a renowned Swiss clinic for an intensive program, the safer, more conventional path. When Griffin found out, his calm cracked. You're making a mistake. Sophia's responding. Neural regeneration isn't flipping a switch, it's delicate. Interrupting now could set her back. His intensity echoed her father's passion, and though Valentina held her ground, part of her wavered. The day of transfer came, but Sophia wasn't having it. Clutching Lily's teddy bear, she refused to board. I want to stay with DR. Griffin and Lily. They're helping me walk. I moved my toes yesterday. Valentina's clinical decision felt cold compared to the warmth Sophia felt with Griffin and Lily. She realized healing was more than stats and protocols. It was about connection, hope, and trust. Then, a flight attendant handed Valentina a package, a drawing from Lily showing two girls holding hands, standing tall with big smiles, and a red handprint in the corner. A promise. Along with it, a note from Griffin quoting her father. Healing happens at the intersection of science and hope. Sophia has both. That night, Valentina faced the truth she'd been avoiding. Healing wasn't just science, it was heart. She remembered a conversation with her father years ago. Breakthroughs come when someone dares to try a different path. Looking at Sophia clutching Lily's bear, she knew what she had to do. She called Griffin, voice steady but hopeful. Don't leave Boston. We're not going to Switzerland. Back at Lawrence Blackwell's untouched lab, frozen since his death, Valentina unlocked the door, the hum of machines stirring ghosts to life. Griffin stood beside her, their shared history and grief filling the space. This was where brilliance had lived, and now, together, they would finish what was started. For weeks, Griffin and a trusted team worked tirelessly, blending Lawrence's genius with Griffin's surgical insight and fresh revelations from the notebooks. Valentina found herself more in the lab than her office, watching the impossible become possible. Sophia's progress was no longer just clinical data, it was real. She wiggled toes, felt tingles, and her friendship with Lily deepened, turning recovery into a shared adventure. Valentina and Griffin grew closer, two partners bound by loss, hope, and a fierce determination. The night before Sophia's big procedure, Valentina brought coffee to Griffin in the lab. I trust you, she said simply. Not just because of my father, but because you and Lily brought hope back to Sophia. 3 months later, Sophia took her first unassisted steps, small but undeniable. Applause filled the therapy room. Lily shouted, "You did it!" Valentina wept quietly, Griffin proud yet composed. Later, at a small celebration, Griffin and Lily fit effortlessly into Valentina's world. As city lights flickered over Boston, she shared her plan. A foundation in Lawrence Blackwell's name to advance pediatric neural regeneration, with Griffin as medical director. He hesitated. What about my reputation? She smiled confident. Saving my daughter is the best recommendation. Besides, your name was just cleared. Real healing, she realized, wasn't about drama or perfection. It was in quiet moments. A little girl's tone moving, a worn-jacketed doctor's second chance, a child's belief that healing stuffed animals could lead to walking again. A year later, Sophia walked onto a stage at the Foundation's gala, steady and sure, introducing her heroes DR. Griffin and DR. Lily. Valentina watched, heart full, knowing sometimes healing begins with the simplest offering. Let me help her. So what do you think? When science meets hope, where should we draw the line between risk and caution? Does healing need to follow the rules? Or is there room for the unexpected? Share your thoughts, because in stories like these, the real debate begins where certainty ends.